What's up, sports fans? This is the Lucas Ross Sports Channel, and our 2023 college football predictions continue for the 2023 college football season. Up next is the Illinois Fighting Illinois, a team coming off an 8-5 season last year, coming off a decent season in 2022. This team was really good last year, definitely a surprise team in 2022. Looking at this team this year in 2023, I think this is going to be a little bit of a step back year for Illinois. I'm very high on this team, but not really as high I was on them last year in 2022. So yeah, they went 8-5 last year. They lost a ton of talent, though, from that team from a year ago, but I think this Illinois team is going to be really competitive like they were last year in almost all their games. Looking at the schedule this year for this Illinois team, they'll play Toledo, Kansas on the road, and they'll also play Florida Atlantic in the non-conference. So they do have to play Kansas in the non-conference on the road out of the Big 12, and that's going to be a pretty big game there against the Jayhawks. Looking forward to that one in week number 2. That game is on September the 9th, but overall, not a tough non-conference schedule for Illinois. And you look at who they play outside of the Big 10 West. They'll play Penn State at home on September 16th. They'll also play Maryland on the road, and they'll also play Indiana at home. So they don't have a tough draw there outside of the Big 10, East. Of course, Penn State will be a tough one, but they do get that game at home, and then you got Maryland on the road. So that would be a tough one there, but let's get right to the prediction here for this Illinois team. So they start things off here with Toledo at home on September the 2nd. I think Illinois should start out pretty easily at 1-0. I really don't see them having any problems in this game against Toledo. They should score maybe 37 points in this game. The roster, I think, will be, ready to go in this one. So I think Illinois beats Toledo here to start out 1-0 for 2023. And there's that big game on the road at Kansas on September the 9th. Big game here in the non-conference between Illinois and Kansas. I didn't really expect this matchup to be happening in week number 2 this year. Kansas played a Power 5 team last year in Duke. This year they're playing Illinois, a team that's coming off a decent season last year, but like I said, this is a different Illinois team than they were last year. They lost a lot of talent from last year's team, including, at quarterback. They're going to have options at quarterback in this one, but the Jayhawks have a lot of production coming back, and I just think with the experience of Kansas, I think this game is close all 4 quarters, but I think the Jayhawks will win it here because they do have home field advantage in this one. So I'm going with Kansas here to knock off Illinois at home on September the 9th, and I got Illinois starting out 1-1 for 2023. Then it's Penn State at home on September the 16th to open up Big 10 play. Penn State's going to have a lot of talent on their defensive side of the football. Offensively is kind of where I'm concerned about, but they do have some talent on that side of the football as well. Sean Clifford is gone, but, it really comes down to, who is the better talented team. I know Illinois has this game at home, but, I already predicted Penn State to win this game against Illinois, and, I think Illinois will compete in this game. I think this game goes into the 4th quarter, but I just think Penn State, the talent is there for them, and I think Penn State will survive a close one over Illinois, and I think they give them their 2nd loss of the season, but then Illinois takes care of business against Florida Atlantic at home. That puts their record at 2-2. Then they'll play Purdue on the road here on September the 30th. Big game here as well. You got Purdue that's kind of, in a rebuild mode now, it seems like, but they do have a new head coach coming in for 2023. So there's definitely a lot of, question marks for Purdue, but I think there's a lot of question marks for both of these teams heading into this year. This is a tough one. This is a very tough game to call, but that being said, it's a coin flip game, and obviously a tough one to call for me. I'm going with home field advantage here, and with that being said, I like Purdue here in a close one. 4-quarter type ball game. I think they give Illinois their 3rd loss of the season. So that puts Illinois at 2-3 on the season. Then they'll play Nebraska at home on October the 7th. So I think Illinois is desperate at this point to kind of get a win here. I think this is where the team kind of starts to get better as the young group kind of grows a little bit into the season. And you lose 3 games in the month of September to Kansas, Penn State, and Purdue. You're kind of desperate to get October off to a pretty good start. And I think that comes right here against this Nebraska team. I think Illinois wins here at home in a close game over Nebraska. And I got Illinois improving to 3-3 on the season. Then they'll play Maryland on the road here on October 14th. I did Maryland's prediction, I think, last week, and I This is a team that I think is going to be pretty good on offense, and defense is what I'm kind of concerned about for Maryland, but I think playing on the road, it will be a tough one here for Illinois. With that being said, I think the offense of Maryland is just way too talented, so I do like the Terrapins here to get a win over Illinois. I think Maryland probably pulls away in the second half, so I think Illinois loses that one on the road. That puts their record at 3-4. Then they'll play Wisconsin at home here on October 21st, a Wisconsin team that's getting a lot of hype heading into this year. I'm not really high on Wisconsin. I don't really have them winning 10 games or maybe overall 9 games this year. I just think this, with a first-year head coach, it's going to be really hard to tell how good this Wisconsin team will be. But I think they'll be pretty good enough to where they can compete. But I think Illinois playing at home, I think this is kind of a desperate win here for Illinois. So with that being said, I think they'd get the close win over Wisconsin here at home on October 21st. This game goes into the fourth quarter, and I think Illinois does beat Wisconsin here, and that puts their record at 4-4. Then they'll get to the month of November. They have a bye week after that Wisconsin game. They'll play Minnesota on the road here. Minnesota is a team that's got a lot of question marks, but they're still going to be good either way, I think, on both sides of the football. I think Minnesota is going to want to run the football on this Illinois defense. I think Illinois' defense is better by this time, but I just think Minnesota's running game is what's going to win them the game in this one. So I think Minnesota wins a close one over Illinois. Maybe they pull away in the second half, plus it's on the road. I really don't see Illinois going on the road and defeating the Golden Gophers. I think Minnesota wins a close one, though, over Illinois, and that puts Illinois' record at 4-5. Then it's Indiana at home on November 11th. I think both of these teams are pretty even here. Indiana's a team that has a lot of production coming back, but they haven't been good in the last couple years. It's kind of hard to tell how good this Indiana team will be this year. And it's going to be hard to tell because, Indiana's just not had a good year in the last couple years, and they're still kind of looking for that winning season after making it to bowl games over the years. They haven't had a winning season since 2020. Hard to tell how good this team will be, but I think in the first half, this game is going to be close, but second half, I think Illinois will pull away. Plus, they're playing at home, and I think that's what wins the game for Illinois. So I'm going with Illinois here to knock off Indiana. That puts their record at 5-5. Iowa on the road here on November 18th. Iowa's a team that's going to be really better at the passing game, but I think Iowa's defense is going to be what's the strongest out of their unit this year. Defensively, they've been good in the last couple years. They've always been pretty good on defensive side of the football. If their offense can just get things going, this team has what it takes to be dangerous this year. But this game is on the road for Illinois. I just don't see Illinois knocking off Iowa on the road. Plus, I think this will be a defensive game. I think Iowa's defense still wins the game here at the end of the day. So I think Illinois does lose a close one here over Iowa, and that puts their record at 5-6. Then they'll play Northwestern here to end things out here on November 25th. Northwestern's kind of similar to Indiana. It's hard to tell how good this team is going to be as well this year. They had a really terrible season last year, definitely one of the worst teams in the Big Ten. I think Illinois is desperate at this point to make it perhaps to a bowl game, and I think that's kind of what motivates them to end this game to beat Northwestern. I don't think this game is a blowout, but I think Illinois does win here in a close one over Northwestern. Plus, playing at home, I think, is what wins them the game here as well. So I got Illinois finishing with a record of 6-6 for 2023. So yes, this is a kind of a step back year for Illinois. I think they'll be competitive. I think they'll be competitive in every single game they play. And the amount of losses they have on this schedule, with all the losses they have on this schedule, I think they'll be a lot competitive than they were last year. Kansas on the road would be a tough one. Purdue's a tough one. Maryland is a tough one. And obviously Minnesota and Iowa, two teams that could probably challenge for the Big Ten West this year. I think the Big Ten West is definitely going to be wide open. I think Illinois has what it takes to be probably a top 25 team, but my prediction for Illinois is 6-6 for 2023. Give me your thoughts down in the comments below. What do you think about this Illinois team? And give me your prediction down in the comments below for this Illinois team. And stay tuned here for more sports content videos on the Lucas Ross Sports Channel.